sexual identity, asexuality is a bit of a paradox. We're defined by what we are not. Asexual literally means not sexual. We're defined by nothing. But I know that's not true. Asexual people like me experience particular affections and attractions. We just lack vocabulary for them and a history in which to situate them. So for my dissertation, I decided to look into the past. I decided to look back to the moment in English-speaking history when marriage, heterosexual marriage, became virtually compulsory as a social norm, the English Reformation. I found that after the Reformation, resistance to marriage culture tended to take the form of Catholic celibacy. And that resistance looks very much like asexuality today. Writers in the 16th and 17th century tried to reimagine, recuperate the possibility of taking the single life as a conscious choice in English society. So we have poets using Mary Magdalene as an example of someone who seems very sensual but does not experience sexuality in her attraction to Christ. We also have authors who are trying to name some of these non-sexual desires, which gives us William Shakespeare's poem, The Phoenix and the Turtle, wherein it's not Romeo and Juliet who are the paragon of love itself, but rather these two birds, the phoenix and the turtle, who are bonded eternally, united to each other in their love called married chastity. And because resistance to marriage culture in early modern England necessarily meant going up against the English state, we have examples or metaphors of writers describing how one would go up against this in this political resistance. And thus we have Hamlet, who metaphorically declares his remedy to corruption in the Danish state, as I say we will have no more marriage. I argue that by researching the history of celibacy, we can learn something new about not just asexuality in the 21st century, but also the broader politics of sex in marriage in which queer sexual identification occurs today. Thank you. This is scarier than Jeopardy, just going like that.
There's so much less on the line. That's what makes it scary.
Sure, I'll start. So I have a couple of questions about your thesis. First of all, I'd love to know how you situate women like Anne of Cleves, Elizabeth I, both of whom resisted, as you rightly point out, married sexuality, but did so in very, very different ways with some very different outcomes. There's also some challenges to your argument that you might want to think about earlier on. People like Marjorie of Kemp, who argued with her husband about married chastity and actually meant it.
Yes.
There are saints' lives that involve women sleeping with swords, knives, and other weapons to, shall we say, gently enforce the boundaries that they wish to set. And all of these have some implications around your thesis about queer sexuality, especially asexuality. So, yeah, I would like to hear more about how this turns out.
Yeah, great.
Okay, I can't comment with such content. Details, that's completely, you should have done.
You made me go first.
I made you go first.
Okay, so from a somewhat less knowledgeable place, I loved the structure of your talk. I loved how you personalized it so early, and I followed you throughout, and then you came back to the relevance to the present day at the end. I really appreciated that. From a non-specialist audience member, that was much appreciated. So I really enjoyed the talk. I'm not sure that the skulls do it for you.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, I see the connection, but I'm not sure. So for the non-specialist, how that really ties into celibacy, was a little lost on.
Fair enough.
I really like the way you started, and I actually wrote, as you were about to say it, I want this to end with connections now. So if this doesn't go there, it just made me interested in the promise of the project. So I really like the idea of sort of getting a sense that there's not a vocabulary around this, but if we look back in the past, we can kind of create or excavate some kind of thing like that. So I appreciated that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.